Hello, everybody, and welcome back into Gamecock Central. I'm Kendall Smith, joined alongside of Wes Mitchell, and we are celebrating. We're looking for the confetti. We don't have any. We wish we did because it is a party for the South Carolina Gamecocks right now. Nyck Harbor, a five-star athlete in the class of 2023 out of Archbishop Carroll in Washington, D.C., committed to South Carolina this afternoon. And Wes, oh my goodness gracious, this has been a marathon getting to this point. He waited until February to announce where he would attend school. South Carolina going up against schools like Oregon, Michigan. They come out on top. They win this big boy recruiting battle. And I haven't seen an athlete quite like Nyck Harbor in my time covering the South Carolina Gamecocks. I know you've been covering South Carolina for a lot longer than I have, but you say the same thing. We've got his tape up there. What is South Carolina getting with Nyck Harbor, this absolute superstar of a player that they just picked up?
Yeah, happy Nyck Harbor Day to all the Gamecock fans out there. Every single class, there is a guy whose name and game sort of transcends everyone else, but not many quite the way that Nyck Harbor has for South Carolina fans. So as you said, I know they're celebrating. This is a pickup, I would say unlike any other, just in terms, Kendall, most of the time we talk about the football player, right? Well, in this case, you're talking about an athlete, talking about a brand, you're talking about a football player, you're talking about a track, not star, a track superstar, a future Olympian, a guy that I think casual sports fans already know of as well, just because they've watched this 6'5", 230 something pound dude outrunning guys that are like half his size on Twitter. So I don't know. I don't even know, Kendall, if you can put into words what this means for South Carolina, both on the field and off the field, in terms of perception, in terms of just winning. I mean, this, you said it, a big boy recruiting battle, trademark. But I mean, it was on ESPN, Kendall, and this is the first time in a while that South Carolina has had one of these battles go down to a national signing day decision. And of course, all I can say is they pulled it off. Like, this is a long marathon. They pulled it off.
Wes, I know you said that you can't really put into words what a commitment does like this for South Carolina, but you're going to have to find some
We're going to
words.
have to, right?
Need to know, what does commitment like this do for the South Carolina Gamecocks, as you mentioned, not just on the field, but off the field as well?
Well, I think off the field, let's kind of peel away the layers. First of all, you're talking about a five-star guy. So that's in and of itself means a great thing for your program. It means people take notice of your program. Then you take, the fact this kid has been featured USA Today, viral on Twitter, is going to be an Olympian potentially down the road. And you add all that together and the perception of what Shane Beamer and company are building, it really just starts to add to the interest, I think, on a national level. Then you add in the fact that the DMV is an area we've seen South Carolina continue to have increased success in. They've landed some guys out of that area, but none quite at the level of Nyck Harbor. So then you add in the actual on-the-field player you're getting, one of the most unique, best athletes I've ever seen since I've covered recruiting. There's been a lot of talk, and we could do an entire video probably on how South Carolina should now use Nyck Harbor on the field. Is he a defensive end? Is he a linebacker? Is he a tight end? Is he a wide receiver? I think if you're the Gamecocks, he is whichever of those things he wants to be when he grows up. You just say, hey, we love you. We want you to be here. Come play whatever position you want. However, as the process has developed, it has felt more and more like Harbor wants to play on offense, wants to be more of like a pass catcher. He's tight end sized, you would say, but he also has wide receiver speed, Kendall. So he almost is in a category of his own. I think you put him on offense. You say, hey, defense, we dare you to cover this guy. Charles Power, who does the rankings for On 3, said he was just running by cornerbacks at the Under Armour game like they were standing still. So can you guard a guy this big, this fast? It's very, very difficult. I don't think you don't have to overanalyze it. You don't have to make it really, really difficult. You just say, our guy is more athletic than yours. Try to cover him, and we're going to throw him the football. So, a good problem to have for the Gamecocks now as they take, again, one of the best athletes we've ever seen and try to find a spot for him on the field, which I promise you they will do.
The spot for sure, Wes. And you mentioned it all there. It's his size, it's his speed, it's his athleticism, his versatility. And we're looking at his film right here. Break it down for us, Wes. What makes him, besides all of those things that I just said, such a special player? What's given him this 5-star ranking?
Well, I think if you really want to break it down, it's actually those things you just laid out, Kendall. It's just that, a lot of times we talk about a guy and we say, he has good size or he has great size. Or we say he has good speed, he has great speed. In the case of Nyck Harbor, he is elite in all of those areas. And he is, quite literally will probably be the fastest prospect in this class. Certainly as a track guy, you look at some of his times running the 60. He's running times comparable to Tyreek Hill, who's the wide receiver who, of course, made his name with the Chiefs, but is now with the Dolphins and is under 6 feet tall. So Nyck Harbor's doing that at 6'5", 230 something pounds. And so you almost struggle if you're a defense to know how you cover this guy. If you put somebody that has a chance of matching up with him speed wise, then he is going to very much just be able to outmuscle them or either just go up over top of them. If you put somebody out there that's bigger, he's going to probably run right by them. So I think he's a matchup nightmare. Again, I keep repeating myself. He's unlike anything we've really seen. He's kind of like if you took Clowney's athleticism and then added some pass catching ability to that side of the ball and then made him a little bit faster. That's what you're looking at with Nyck Harbor. And, I think just is a special kid on top of that. Very sharp, very smart, comes from a family that is about all the right things, if you want to sort of sum it up. And then Kendall, on top of him as a player, I do want to get a little bit into what South Carolina was able to do to land him. And I think you've got to go back. Shane Beamer building that initial relationship, initial comfort level. Harbor's talked about it from the moment Beamer hosted him on campus for the first time. He connected with Beamer. Jody Wright, the tight ends coach, did a phenomenal job. Sterling Lucas did a phenomenal job, who's their sort of edges, outside linebackers coach. And then don't forget this, Curtis Fry, who runs South Carolina's track and field program, he also did a phenomenal job. He's had Olympians that have sort of blossomed under his long time at South Carolina. That cannot be understated how important that was as well. So South Carolina was a little bit of the underdog throughout this process, but all those things we just mentioned, they found a way to pull it out to get what has to be considered one of the biggest commitments in University of South Carolina football history.
Yeah, definitely the biggest commitment under Shane Beamer so far. And I was going to ask you, why South Carolina? They're going up against Oregon, they're going up against Michigan. And for a guy like Nyck Harbor, it was such a complete process throughout his recruitment. It wasn't just about football, it was about the relationships he developed. It was about academics, very, very important to him and his family. It was about the track programs as well. So for South Carolina, they always talk about how recruiting is all hands on deck. And it is with every single player you recruit, but really with Nyck Harbor, that was the case. And why South Carolina? Well, I think everybody showed out and they put their best foot forward and they showed what this university could offer Nyck Harbor. And he obviously saw that on all three of those fronts, whether that's track, football, or academics, he was satisfied with what South Carolina could offer. So a huge pickup for the Gamecocks, 5-star athlete Nyck Harbor, class of 2023 out of Archbishop Carroll in Washington, D.C. I love these highlights because they just keep on going on and on and on and on. I feel like sometimes, you get a few minutes of video. Nope, Nyck Harbor's highlights could probably be the length of a movie, right, Wes?
This is a 20-minute highlight, I'm pretty sure. So we actually, you know what? We'll upload that highlight video separately on our YouTube. It is Nyck Harbor Day, so we're gonna have as much content as we possibly can. We of course will be hearing directly from Nyck Harbor on Gamecock Central as well. So look forward to hearing exactly from his. By the time you see this, it may already be up on GC. Hearing exactly what his reasons were for picking South Carolina. But to your point, Kendall, I think Harbor took an open mind to this process as well. So give credit to everybody involved at South Carolina, but give credit to Harbor and his family. This was not a big boy battle where you just had to beat out Alabama and Ohio State. It was more of it was a weird mix of schools, right? Like he very clearly put a lot of thought into who was going to be in that Final Four, that Final Five, and which schools he was really going to consider. I think comfort level was a huge part of that. And I think he had a very specific idea of what his future looks like, is what his future plan looks like. So it wasn't just let me go to the best logo, wasn't let me just go to the best brand and just pick an Alabama or pick Ohio State. This was a very well thought out process. And the Gamecocks, obviously, Kendall, were able to do everything they could to provide the Harbors with the right answers and give them what they wanted to know about this process. It sort of felt like the Gamecocks set themselves up for their final push with that in-home last week. There was a lot of confidence coming out of that on the South Carolina end that they felt like they were going to land him. You had the Oregon official visit that you had to survive if you're South Carolina. But from what we've heard, the conversations, the communication continued out of that Oregon visit. South Carolina obviously getting really, really good news going into this announcement on Wednesday when everybody else found out that he's going to be a Gamecock. And now you continue this push, this momentum that we've seen South Carolina have on the recruiting trail. I think it carries over. We've already seen a great start to that 2024 class. It will only grow from here, I think, Kendall.
Happy Nyck Harbor Day, everybody. Let us know how you are celebrating and be responsible, be safe out there. South Carolina landing a huge commitment in five-star athlete Nyck Harbor. You know that the Nyck Harbor news, the updates, they're not going anywhere. We have got you covered on GamecockCentral.com. So be sure to check us out there and then follow us on all of our social medias at Gamecock Central. Wes, you committed to the grit on this one. I am proud of you. This was not an easy recruitment process to follow. You and Chris Clark doing a phenomenal job on that. So we appreciate all of your insight, all of your work, all of your analysis. And now you can hopefully relax and know that Nyck Harbor is a Gamecock. All of you out there too, exhale, take a sigh of relief. South Carolina winning big today on National Signing Day. He's Wes Mitchell. I'm Kendall Smith. Nyck Harbor's a Gamecock, and this has been another commitment breakdown here on Gamecock Central.